Dan forward and read the proclamation for you. Dan, welcome. It's good to have you with us. And yes, you did give me hope. Perhaps at some point in my days I'll have the same or similar opportunity. Proclamation from the City of Turlock in honor of the retirement of Daniel Frisch. Whereas Daniel has been an employee of the City of Turlock since November 16, 1981, when he was hired as a wastewater treatment plant operator 1 in the Municipal Services Department. And whereas Daniel Frisch has loyally served the city and its citizens for a total of 35 years in the following capacities. Wastewater treatment plant operator 1, starting November 16, 1981. Wastewater treatment plant operator 2, 3, wastewater treatment plant operator senior, environmental compliance inspector, beginning April 1st, 2003. And whereas Daniel's career contains a significant number of accomplishments and achievements which have been instrumental in the success of the City of Turlock's environmental compliance program, and whereas Daniel is highly regarded for his commitment to professionalism and quality of work for the city, and whereas Daniel was recognized and has received California Water Environment Association Operator of the Year, that award twice. 4 awards for perfect attendance throughout his career. And Daniel was very active in the California Water Environment Association's Northern San Joaquin Section Regional Committee and served as president for 7 years and was a presenter at many conferences. Whereas Daniel will retire from his position of Environmental Compliance Inspector effective July 5th. It's only a week away. 6 days. But you're not counting, I take it, okay. Whereas the City Council, by this recognition, wishes to express its most sincere appreciation to Daniel for his 35 years of valuable and dedicated service, and wishes to thank him for a job well done. Now therefore I, Gary Soyseth, by virtue of the authority vested in him as mayor of City of Turlock, and on behalf of the entire City Council and all of our citizens, do hereby commend Daniel Frisch for many years of valuable service and for his many contributions to the progress of this community. Further, Daniel is to be commended for the manner in which he has carried out his responsibilities and duties as a member of city staff. Signed, Gary Soyseth, co-signed by Bill DeHart Jr. Thank you so much, Daniel. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I could easily, with so many memories, so many professional goals, I could end it really quick, but you know, Daisy said, you're welcome, but I turn it around. You know, this day takes me back to, I actually started in June of 80, 4 days after high school. And as I talk to people to teach them about preparing for interviews, tell them what you can do for them, not for what they can do for you. And what I brought as skills on that day, I was able to pick up litter on the side of the road for Dave Brohas. From that point, Cliff Martin, the superintendent at the wastewater treatment plant, took a chance on me. And through mentoring, opportunities, I took advantage of those opportunities, became the professional that I am. So I say thank you to the city. You've made me the professional I am today. And with that, I have gratitude. With this career and professionalism and position with a fair wage, I've been able to provide a very, very comfortable life for myself and my family. And I thank you for that. So in appreciation, it's farewell, but with great regard for the city. As Phaedra recognized one time when I was explaining some emotions about the city, she said, that's not emotions, that's passion. And it's true. My passion for Turlock is there. And again, my gratitude to the city and everything they've done for me. Thank you.
Well, it's always a milestone and an excellent experience when we have the opportunity to recognize former employees. Great job once again, Daniel. I need to make a quick announcement for those that are here for a specific item that has been pulled from our agenda for this evening. There's an item related to the film permit application. If you are here to listen to that or to make comment on that, the road closure having to do with the film permit application, that has been rescheduled. We trust it's going to be, what was that, excuse me?
At this time, it's not being brought.
At this time is not being brought back forward. And then, did I not take a note? Seemed to me there was another one that got pulled. I'm good. Like I said, I'm good, but I knew that already. Okay. At this time, I'd like to, for special briefings, call upon Mr. Todd Smith. Are you here this evening or no? Allison Van Gilder. Talk about the airport.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. Todd Smith was unable to make it to the meeting tonight, so I'd like to provide you with a brief update. We are moving forward with the runway widening construction project that you were aware of. We did have an inspection about 3 weeks ago with the FAA. They came out to the airport, did some measurements, verified different aspects of the property relative to the construction project. Shortly thereafter, we did receive direction from the FAA that we were clear to proceed with putting together the bid packages and distributing those. So we're now working very closely with our engineering department to review those documents. We anticipate that they'll be available within the next few weeks.
Great. Any questions, comments? Okay, thank you so much. I did neglect to mention that our mayor is in Florida at the Mayor's Convention or Conference. It has been for several days, and we'll be returning later this week. That's why he's not here. That's why he's not joined us by phone. So the big vacant chair, that's the reason why. We do have a series of staff updates this evening. And I'm going to call upon Glenna to give us our Pet of the Month information. Welcome, Glenna.
It's always a pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you. So again, just confirming that Pet of the Month has been a great success. Everyone's getting adopted, as well as others from the animal shelter. Is it working? Hold on. It's not working. I'm sorry. Hold on a second. Try now. Just push it. Yeah. Can we do that?
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay, I'm gonna go over here. Is this one on too? So all of the Pet of the Month's adoption fees are covered by TMAPS, our association. Basically, that includes spay, neuter, microchip, first vaccines, rabies vaccine, and a license for our City of Turlock residents. This is Dylan. He was last month's Pet of the Month of June. He actually got adopted the very next day after this. This family waited in line anxiously. They're really happy with Dylan, and they do report to us that he's getting along great with the family. And this little boy, that's his very first pet, so they're really excited to get him. This is July. I do name the pets to make them more personable. July is actually a pug mix. He's 3 years old. He's already neutered. He weighs 13 pounds. He's good with other dogs, and he loves cats. So he'd be a really good lap pet for somebody who can't get out and about. He's kind of low-key, so he's not too overactive. Little July is, again, available for adoption at no charge. The July promotion is our cat and kitten adoption fees for the whole month of July will be $25. That's for cats and kittens that are in our shelter. That will include a first vaccine, microchip, and spay and neuter. We do have quite the variety right now, so you can see them on our Facebook and our website. And we also are going to continue our microchip program. We did microchip around 50 animals through the month of June, so we're going to go ahead and offer that again through the month of July for that fireworks special to get those animals returned back to their owners. And just to let you know again, our shelter's open Monday through Saturday, 10 to 2. You can come visit us anytime during those business hours. Do you have any questions?
Comments? Comment?
It was a mix of pug and I believe that City Manager Hampton is leaving us and is going to be very lonely without all of us and does love pugs. So
I was
knock
thinking
yourself
of
out, buddy.
They say you look like your pet, and I do look like that pug.
I could use it, we could do it as a parting gift.
My family already has enough animals from the Turlock Animal Shelter,
Thank you
thanks
for
to
that.
Glenna, so thank you.
Thank you.
You bet. Thank you very much, Glenna.
Thank you.
Public Safety, Chief Amrafar. Public Safety. Welcome.
Welcome, thank you.
You're welcome.
Vice Mayor, Council, City Manager, thank you for taking the time today, and I want to thank Glenna as always, and I know she rushed out. It's a long day for her, but our animal control services is second to none. I say that every week that I come up here. She puts forth an effort that I can't match, and City Manager Hampton is correct. I'm up to 3 dogs now in our house, so thank you, Glenna. Well, I'd like to give you the monthly report for the police department statistics, and as usual, we start with our top 3 calls for service. For those of you that would like a copy of the report, they're back there on the table. It's public record for you. So for top 3 calls for service for the month of May 2017, they're staying right around the same: suspicious persons, disturbance verbal, and disturbance other. We've had a 43% increase on the suspicious person calls. We've gone from 155 last year, this time, to 221. As we move to year to date, we have a 3% increase from suspicious persons from 838 this year. Last year was 816. So as the year is combined, you'll see the numbers come closer together, but we are having increases. If we move down to your burglary types, you'll see that we have had for year to date, a 45% decrease in residential burglaries. Last year to date, we had 152. This year, we're down to 83. We have had an increase in the commercial burglaries for year to date of 21%. Last year was 53 year to date. This year, we're at 64. We look at our top 3 Part 1 crimes, and we do see a 10% decrease in theft. This year we're at 586. Last year we were at 653. Auto theft has decreased by 23%. We're at 204, previously 264. And I would like to thank the citizens for part of this, keeping your doors locked, ensuring that your cars aren't left running during the winter time to make your car a little warmer has been a help. So thank you again there. We move on to our response times. For this year, for January through May, our priority 1 response times have increased by 7%, 7% in regards to our response time, but calls received also have increased by 22%. So as our calls go up, there's more calls for the same amount of officers, so your response times are going to go up a little bit there. But we're trying to maintain them and hopefully continue to decrease them. But the numbers work against each other. So the more calls we have with the finite amount of resources, your times are going to go up. As we progress through service demands, calls for service, it's interesting, calls for service for May 16 versus May 2017, we went from 3,759 to 4,407. Year to date, in 2016, we had 18,344 calls for service. Year to date this year, we have 19,470, which is a 6% increase. Moving over to the self-initiated calls, these are the officers handling these calls in their spare time. We went up about 100 from 16 to 17 in May. Year to date for 2016, we had 22,188. For year to date, January through May, we've increased that 23,665, which is a 7% increase, and I'm going to move back to our response times where I indicated finite amount of resources and more calls for service. You'll see even with the finite number, our officers and staff are going out and giving you, the citizens of Turlock, 200%, literally 200%. Move on down to reports taken. you will see for year-to-date, we have 4,638 reports taken, a 2% increase. And you may wonder, only 4,638 police reports, but yet you have 19,470 calls for service, not including your self-initiated calls. These are the reports after investigation that come to a point of criminal-type actions where we have to take the police report. Most of the others are adjudicated through counseling services and so forth that we handle on a daily basis. Citations issued, Councilmember DeHart, Vice Mayor DeHart, this is interesting to you. We show a decrease from 2017 year-to-date to 2016 of 40% decrease in our citations issued, which is of a concern. And the concern is we've brought this up before, our traffic unit is only 2 officers for a city of 72,000, and we're doing the best we can with that. Our traffic unit for May of 2017 issued 120 citations. Our patrol officers, on top of the self-initiated activity and on top of the calls for service, were also able to issue 121 cites. That's not inclusive of the traffic stops that we do make in regards to educational purposes. The citations are the issues that the officers take, that the risk outweighs the education portion of it. However, I do want to point out that the traffic unit of 2 officers also conducted all the graduations inclusive of Turlock High, Pittman High, the university's 2 days assisting there, and the junior highs, Dutcher and Turlock Junior High, assisted there with traffic controls and setup. We also assisted 1 whole day of overtime at the LAC concert. Primary collision factors. And for the citizens, when I talk about primary collision factors, when the police department responds to accidents with injuries, we determine through investigative process what was the primary reason for that collision. And from that investigation, unsafe turning movement was number 1 this year with 9. Red light violations were number 2 with 5. And DUI was 5. I need to point out that our DUIs, so far this week, we've averaged 4 a day. So DUIs are on the increase. It's summertime. People are drinking and driving, and we're out there looking for them. So just wanted to point that out. Calls for service or patrol by voting districts. District 1, suspicious persons was number 1 with 61. District 2, disturbances with 69. District 3, suspicious persons with 32. And District 4, suspicious persons with 4. District 4, you'll see, diverts to number 2 being a commercial alarm as our number 2 calls for service. District 4 is your businesses and so forth. And for the citizens, the police department has an alarm verification policy, but for businesses, I've suspended it, where we respond to all alarms on businesses. The problem with that is we do have quite a few false alarms, but the fact of the matter is that 1 alarm we don't respond to, and there is a burglary there that we may have been able to catch the person, outweighs the fact that we're responding to over 50% of false alarms. Special deployments, our tip line for May, we've had 6 submitted. All of them have been addressed and resolved. Year to date, we've had 43 so far this year. We assisted in a large event. You may have seen it on the news, where over 50 SWAT units throughout the state of California, including Department of Justice, FBI, and several AWAC military airplanes were deployed with several helicopters in order to address a long investigation that dealt with gangs throughout the Central Valley, drug dealing, lots of homicides involved, and several of them we were able to assist in. We had over 50 arrests, 47 search warrants, lots of drugs, gang, paraphernalia, and so forth. So we've been pretty active. You'll see Animal Control Council with the additional Animal Services Officer. We've been able to issue 161 contacts for proactive license enforcement. So we're going out and we're making sure people are licensing their animals and they're being vaccinated, et cetera. Crime prevention efforts, we continue to progress there. We hosted the Stanislaus Regional Law Enforcement Volunteer Academy 10-week program. Social media, we're pretty much going through the roof. Facebook is now up to 9,000 likes, 5% increase. We have 126,157 people visiting us there. We're up to 5,200 on Twitter. Instagram, we're at 974, which is an 11% increase. And our YouTube has a 1,000% increase of watch time. You'll find the last item on here is our Part 1 crimes, and at this point we have a 67% decrease in homicide, thank God.
On this, but I know if somebody happens to notice a crime, something suspicious, is there a way for them to, like, just take a picture and text it to the police department? Is there some quicker way than trying to get a hold of somebody on the phone? Is that
The quickest way to
something
contact the
possible?
police department is through a cell phone or landline. You can call 668-1200 or 911. We don't have a 24-hour monitoring system for cell phones, texting, and so forth. You can use the tip line. You can take a picture of an incident and email it to us through the tip line, because that is email. But as for an active portal that is monitored 24/7, we don't have that. And I've got to say, I would rather us have one-on-one contact with the citizens. You know, I've said this time and time again, community policing means that the community and your police department are one. The police department is the community is the police department. That means we are responsible and been given the trust of the community to enforce the laws and protect the citizens. On the other hand, the citizens have the responsibility also to help their police department. And that means that immediate phone call where we can get out there and address those issues that are life-threatening and threatening to the property. And I got to tell you, the citizens of Turlock are doing an outstanding job. That's why our crime rates are falling, because we're getting more and more involved through social media, and it's a big deal. So thank you for that question.
Any others? Thanks, Chief. Appreciate
Thank
it. Chief Taloni, welcome. I understand you've got double billing tonight.
I do, sir.
Okay, great. Welcome.
Vice Mayor, City Council, good evening. Please reference the red fire incident summary report from May 18, 2017 to June 22nd, 2017. Note the table of contents is on page 1. The incident summary report begins on page 2. Total calls by fire station, Station 1, which is on East Marshall Street, 192 calls. Station 2, which is on South Walnut Street, 174 calls. Station 3, which is on East Monte Vista Avenue, 169 calls. And Station 4, which is on North Walnut Road, 169 calls. Total calls by shift, A shift at 227 calls, B shift 238, and C shift 239. Total calls by district, which is Station 1, 189, Station 2, 177, Station 3, 168, and Station 4, 161. Out of city, mutual aid calls, we totaled 9 for that time period. Total calls by incident, which is on page 3, some highlights. We had 38 fire responses, rescue and emergency medical calls, incidents 461, 6 hazardous conditions, 50 service calls, good intent 108, and false alarms totaled 37. Total calls by incident type can be found on page 3 and page 4. Some highlights are, of the 38 fire calls, 5 were building fires, 1 cooking fire, 3 unauthorized burning, passenger vehicle fires were 2, grass brush fires combined 21, outside rubbish fires were 4, and 2 dumpster fires. Motor vehicle accidents with injuries were 21. Motor vehicle accidents with injuries versus bike or scooter, 21. Motor vehicle accidents with no injuries were 13. EMS calls where the patient refused treatment was 419. Assist invalid or lift assist calls totaled 22. Smoke detector activation, no fire, unintentional, 8. Alarm system activation, no fire, unintentional, 13. Good intent calls by neighbors totaled 9. And in conclusion, please note, operation highlights can be found on pages 7, 8, and 9. Training division highlights on page 10 and 11. and fire prevention highlights on page 12. Neighborhood services can be found on page 13. The code violation inspections have been broken down for your review. A pie chart and graphs are on page 14. Our social media update is on page 15. I'd be happy to answer any questions before moving on to the training grounds and update.
Any questions for the chief? Seeing none? Thank you, chief. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Proceed.
Vice Mayor and City Council, and Mayor Soiseth, we thank you for your support on this training grounds project. Live fire training is vital to the health and safety of our firefighters and our occupants. Smoke, heat, and products of fire produce building materials can confuse even the most experienced firefighters. Saving lives is our #1 priority. There is no substitute for live firefighting training. And currently, all 8 shipping containers have been placed, stacked, and welded together. All interior of the shipping containers have been pressure washed. All shipping containers were primed and painted with a final coat of black paint. 2 interior staircases have been installed. The 3 exterior staircases have been installed. The exterior metal decking for the platforms is in place and welding is being finalized. All exterior railings have been installed. Items currently in process: guardrails for the interior stairwells, sealing up the interior stairwells between containers, and the next phase of the project will include having an outside vendor install doors and windows and openings throughout the structure. I would like to acknowledge Chief of Training Brian White, Kevin Tidwell, and our Training Grounds Committee. And at this time, I would like to show the video so you get a kind of a sense of being there. Vice Mayor and Council, having these containers and the training grounds that you've given us will enable us to use instructors from the National Fire Academy throughout the United States. You have put us on the map. Not only we will attract Turlock firefighters and local firefighters will attract firefighters from the greater part of California. One of our National Fire Academy classes, we had people signed up from Oakland. So we appreciate what you've done, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that you may have. And Mayor Soyseth, who's not here, and Vice Mayor and City Council, thank you very much.
Questions, anyone? Okay, I do have one, Chief. What does it appear to be the operational opening to when you can actually start using it?
Well, by the time everything is set, we're hoping in about 3 weeks. We want to
Okay.
be extra care that everything is secure. And I must say, there's a rumor out there that I like to put to rest right now, that it is black and silver, not because I'm an Oakland Raider fan, but that's the color it's supposed to be, and I'd like to put that rumor to rest right now.
Well, by nature, by virtue of the nature of the facility, it would be inappropriate to be red and gold, I believe. So, anyway, thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Vice Mayor.
Look pretty black ops to me.
Director Pitcock. Pedretti Park safety netting repairs. I know we had a question on that. You've got some update for us.
Yeah, I got a little update for you. Thank you, Vice Mayor and council members. I'm going to go back to kind of go through a little bit of the chronology of the history and kind of talk about all the steps it takes to get this project to where it is today. So on January 18th, we had a large storm, knocked over 3 eucalyptus trees, which opened up the area on field 2, right field, and knocked down the trees that were a natural barrier to the balls. And then again, on February 17th, we had an additional storm, large winds, that knocked down 7 additional eucalyptus trees along the entire outfield of field 3. So as you already know, on the 28th of March, the city manager declared an emergency. And the reason we did this is because these fields are necessary for our recreational activities here in the city of Turlock. On April 6th, a service request for a proposal was given to our outside retained geotechnical company, Kleinfelder. They came back to us that they could do the work in about 3 weeks. We felt that was a little bit too long, so we reached out to our second geotechnical company, Wallace and Kuhn, and then they told us it's going to be even longer than that. So we went back to Kleinfelder, said, please get started on the soils report, and they did so. So on April 7th, the invitation to bids was given to Judge Netting, West Coast Netting, and a third contractor who declined the bid. And on April 12th, Kleinfelder submitted the proposal and said that their work would be 3 additional weeks. Again, we talked about this earlier. So on the 18th, we had Kleinfelder say, get going on it. They started work on the soils report. And also on the 18th, this council authorized the contract to Judge Netting in the amount of $79,975. On May 9th, Kleinfelder completed the soils report, and it was sent to Judge Netting so they could finish their structural calculations. And then they submitted those structural calculations to our building department on May 26th. On May 30th, we issued the building permit. So on the 9th of June, our contractor reached out to us and asked that we now stake the location of the poles, and we did so the next day. And on the 19th, the contractor provided what we call erosion and sediment control plan. It's a requirement of the state of California. And they also mobilized on that day. At that time, they provided a schedule that they would be done with everything by June 22nd. The work began as planned on the 20th, went a little slower than they anticipated. I went out there on the 22nd, actually the 23rd, the day after, to see if it was completed. It wasn't. I went out again on the 26th and noticed that, again, they weren't out there working. So I asked staff to contact them and emphasize the necessary, that we need to get this thing completed. And they did so, and they promised to return today and not leave until they get it completed. They did return today, and they got all the poles stood up today. They're going to string the cable tomorrow, and hopefully the netting Thursday and Friday. So hopefully the contractor will fulfill the second schedule and get it done by the end of this week. So, but we are seeing some progress there.
Great.
Any questions?
Comments, questions? City Manager?
Mr. Pitcock, if you could just briefly explain the importance of the soils analysis and why we waited such a long time to obtain that information.
The soils analysis is important from a building permit standpoint. They have to do structural calculations on what they call a foundation for the actual poles. So they have to have the character or the nature of the soils themselves. They have to have an understanding of how they will react in a seismic event, in a large wind event. And those calculations come together by a structural engineer who then supplies that to our building division as part of the building permit process. And again, our building permit division turned it around in 3 to 4 days.
Thanks, Mr. Pitcock. Appreciate it.
Yep.
Thank you. Come now, North Valley Regional Recycled Water Project, Mr. Cook and Carollo Engineers. I'll let you introduce them if they're here. Go ahead, Mr. Cook.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, members of the City Council. It's with great excitement I introduce Darren Bowney of Carollo Engineers. Carollo Engineers have been hired by the cities of Turlock and Modesto to help us design and help us through the construction process of the North Valley Regional Recycled Water Pipeline, which you may recall is a large pipeline from the San Joaquin River over to the Delta Mendota Canal, where we'll convey recycled water to Del Porto Water District for beneficial use. So over to Darren.
Thanks, Michael, and thank you, City Council, for having us here today. So I'm just going to provide a quick status update on the North Valley Regional Recycled Water Program. So the agenda today is just an overview of the project. I'll talk about the schedule and the status of the project, show you some project details, and then we'll walk through some interesting construction photos of the project that is being completed right now for City of Modesto. So this schematic shows both the Turlock and Modesto water treatment and water delivery system. You can see your water quality control facility on the bottom left of the graphic. You can see recycled water users, Walnut Energy Center, the Sports Field irrigation, TID irrigation. Water is then pumped from the Harding Drain Pump Station to the San Joaquin River, where it's discharged. And then the Modesto system is similar. Modesto's Jennings treatment plant is shown kind of on the lower right, and it delivers water, currently treats water and delivers it to the San Joaquin River. So this project includes revisions to the Modesto effluent pump station and a new pipeline to the Delta Mendota Canal, and also a new pipeline from your outfall facility over to Modesto's Jennings wastewater treatment plant. Water is conveyed from the Delta Mendota Canal to the Del Porto Water District, where it's used for irrigation purposes. So just in plan space, this is an aerial photo of the program. It includes about 14 miles of 42-inch diameter pipe. That's the whole project. And we're going to deliver about 30,600 acre feet per year of recycled water. You can see on the right side of the graphic, the purple solid line is your pipeline, the City of Turlock's pipeline that's currently in design. And then the sort of checkered yellow and purple is the pipeline from Modesto's treatment plant to the Delta Mendota Canal. And the alignment, the Turlock pipeline will go along South Carpenter, West Main, and Jennings Road, and then onto Modesto's ranch property to the effluent pump station. So current program status, the Turlock project, right now we're about 50% design, and we'll complete 95% design sometime in August. And construction of the project will start early next year in February of 2018, and it'll take about a year to construct. So will be completed in March of 2019 approximately. The Modesto project is a design build project. It's actually under construction at this time, and it'll be complete by March 2018. And just to give everybody an idea of the size of the project, it's about a $70 million program for both the Turlock and the Modesto projects. So again, recycled water is conveyed to the Del Porto Water District via the Delta Mendota Canal. You can see the canal on the left. That's what the red circle is showing. And we're just going to show you a couple of quick construction photos of the canal, or the outfall construction. So this is the outfall structure at the Delta Mendota Canal under construction. You can see it's formed up, and the walls are coming up. This shows the meter vault at the Delta Mendota Canal. Again, it's been constructed. These are precast vaults, but you can see the pipeline is being installed in the vault. So the project will include, the Turlock, both portions include a significant distance of open cut pipeline installation. You can see on the left side of the graphic, Zacharias Road shows an open cut pipeline. You'll have also open cut pipeline along South Carpenter, West Main, and Jennings for the Turlock project. Just a few photos of what that will look like. So here's the pipeline installation underway on Zacharias Road. You can see the open cut pipeline. It's basically a non-short excavation and installing the large diameter steel pipe in the excavation. The program requires trenchless construction methods in several areas. I'm going to show you a picture of the Highway 33 trenchless crossing. This is part of the Modesto project, but there'll be similar trenchless crossings on the Turlock portion of the project. We have about 3 ditch and cattle crossings for the Turlock portion. So this shows, again, the trenchless crossing at Highway 33. The left side of the graphic shows this is a jack and bore trenchless method. You can see the cutting head on the front of the casing. The middle photo shows the jacking frame pushing the casing below the highway, and the right side of the picture it's kind of hidden, but you can see the pipeline actually emerging out of the excavation. Oh, excuse me. Actually, here's the pipeline emerging, coming into the pit on the left side of the graphic. And this graphic on the right shows the pipeline actually welded and installed and in place. The San Joaquin River crossing will begin construction in August of this year, next month. The San Joaquin River crossing is shown in the red circle on this graphic. This is very close to Modesto's treatment plant. So the San Joaquin River crossing is a challenging element of the program. It's about 2,500 feet long, and we're about 35 feet below the bottom of the river channel, so it's a deep, long trenchless crossing. The method that will be used is called horizontal directional drilling, and basically a pilot hole is augured underground, and then they ream that hole, and then they pull the pipe under the river. It's a continuous method, so once they start construction, it won't stop. We have several environmental and biological challenges along the project. This graphic shows Swainson hawks, red-tailed hawks, and elderberry longhorned beetles. Along the project, this just kind of establishes the construction windows and environmental constraints for the contractor during construction. We've done the biological surveys so far, but we will continue doing that as we approach construction. And with that, I'd just like to open it to questions.
Are there questions for us? Okay. Questions from the public? Comments?
Yes.
Please come to the podium so that we can hear you.
Good evening. My name is Diana Lynn Cason, and I'm just asking the employees, are they local residents? Are they from outside of our area?
The employees of
With the construction project.
Oh, so the question is if the employees on the construction projects are local. We are Carollo engineers, so we are local. We're also in the Bay. The Modesto, so the Turlock project is not actually under construction yet. The Modesto project is under construction, and I'm not quite sure if the contracting company has local requirements for local involvement. I can follow up if necessary.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Any others? Seems to me there was a young lady out here by the name of Anthea Hansen that might have something important to say. Yes or nay? Glad to have you with us this evening, Anthea. Delighted. Okay, thank you very much for the presentation.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. I know that's, everybody's watching with rapt interest. Thank you very much. Okay, it comes now. Did we have any public participation? People that would like to make comment to the council in chambers this evening? Did not have any blue cards here. That's obviously always desired. Seeing none, so that motion does carry. Any declaration of conflicts of interest or disqualifications? Yes, sir.
Yeah, out of an abundance of caution, I'd like to again recuse myself from item 6A. So when we approach that item, I'll excuse myself from the chambers.
Okay, just so I get it properly noted. 6A. Thank you very much. Okay, disclosure of top contributors, top 10 contributors or maximum contributors is before you in the agenda. Consent calendar, what's the pleasure of the council?
Actually, I'd like to pull M if possible. I'd like to discuss 5M.
5M?
Get a couple questions.
5M. Okay. So unless item M, we have a motion by Councilmember Jacobs, seconded by Councilmember Bublak for the consent calendar minus item M. Clerk, would you call the roll, please?
Adopting the amended consent calendar. Councilmember Esquer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeHart.
Yes. Okay, before us then, item M. Accepting notification of contract change order number 1, final for city project number 1663, local road improvements, slurry seal 2016. That's the first motion. Second pertains to it. Go ahead.
Essentially, I just had a couple of questions that may tie into this and may not. So that's, somebody can help me just to make sure that I'm on the right track. But the question I had was pertaining to the money that we used. We approved $100,000 a year to be spent on maintenance. This project was part of that.
This was the $100,000 project the council initiated for a one-time only, and it came from the gas tax, what they call 2103 funds.
Okay.
And that's how we paid for this project.
Okay, and actually, the question I have is, did we ever determine where we're gonna spend that $100,000 every year? Have we discussed that yet? Is that something, I'm just not sure if that's something that happened when I was asleep or whatever. I just, can somebody just help me catch up on, I know we approved the $100,000, and I guess it's tied into the Measure L 25-year contract. So I'm just, have we determined where we're gonna use that money yet? Or where it's gonna come from?
My understanding is this was a one-time expenditure that the council authorized, and I don't think there was a continuation of that. And I believe what you're talking on the Measure L project, there was an issue of supplanting as far as tax dollars is collected by the city used for street maintenance. You had to continue.
Done every year out of separate funds from Measure L, from what I remember from the meeting.
Thank you. Councilmember Bublak.
I'm only one of 5, but it was my hope that that would be something that we were giving from our budget every year. And so I was under the impression as well. I don't know how we were gonna take it or where it was gonna go each time, but I thought it would come forward on a regular basis, because I think that it's important that the city of Turlock uses their budget to move forward something. That measure was something that we didn't know if it would pass or fail, and I still wanted, my intent was, let's make sure that we're taking care of our residential areas and the streets that aren't in an assessment district.
Okay. We actually have 2 different items here, folks. Number 1, clarification of the original $100,000 introduction, as Councilmember Bublak has suggested. Number 2, we have a specific one-time project that now has come and is being proposed or laid before us this evening, such that it can be, a certificate of file of completion can be made. So we actually have, yes, ma'am, would you clarify for us? Thank you.
If I could just seek a little clarification, in terms of the budget issue, that would be a separate issue, maybe a report back on the budget and whether or not it was allocated and not as part of these motions because it wasn't on the agenda tonight.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Just wanted to make sure I was on the same page.
Thank you. No, I appreciate the clarification. Matthew?
To my recollection, we specifically allocated those funds from the TOT as to not have them be a binding reoccurring cost to us. And we made that decision prior to the November 8th election, given that it was unknown if Measure L would pass or not. So I don't know if that's something maybe the city clerk would have to pull for us to get further clarification on and down the road, but that's what I recall.
Okay, so we definitely need some clarification on that, and we will get that. So the item before us now, Measure M.
Introduce both motions.
Both motions moved, seconded. Moved by Councilmember Bublak, seconded by Councilmember Esker. Clerk, could you please read the roll?
Accepting notification of contract change order number 1, final, for city project number 16-63, local road improvements, slurry seal 2016. Accepting improvements for city project number 16-63, local road improvements, slurry seal 2016, and authorizing the city engineer to file a notice of completion. Councilmember Esker,
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeHart.
Yes. A special note be made, lest we be unspecific, that we would like a follow-up on this, just, Manager, if we could. I don't know how we go about doing that for clarification.
We will ensure that on your July 11th council agenda, that an item is scheduled to review your action from the prior council, not the prior council meeting, but the council meeting that directed staff to move forward with the slurry seal project and the $100,000. And we'll clarify the continuance of that $100,000, council's direction. And then secondly, we will provide an overview of your recent adoption of the 2017-18 fiscal year budget.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. Okay, we do have a final reading before us this evening. There will be 2 ordinances introduced. There were 2 ordinances introduced at the June 13th meeting, and these final readings pertain to that. First ordinance, amending the zoning map of City of Turlock, California Municipal Code, Northwest Triangle Specific Plan Update, zoning for 4 properties. Secondly, amending the zoning map of City of Turlock, California Municipal Code, pre-zone 2016-01, Northwest Triangle Specific Plan Update, pre-zoning a property, other additional properties as well. Clerk, could you read? And I guess we do need to solicit a motion and a second at this point. Okay, good, I'm glad I thought of that. Chair will entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second? I'll second it myself, thank you. It's been moved by Councilmember Bublak, seconded by myself. Clerk, please call the roll.
Amending the zoning map of the City of Turlock, California Municipal Code, rezone 2016-01, Northwest Triangle Specific Plan Update, rezoning 4 properties located at 1812 North Tegner Road, APN 088-010-027, 1598 North Tegner Road, APN 088100028, 3000 West Tuolumne Road, APN 088010001, and 2918 West Tuolumne Road, APN 088010023, from Agriculture A to Community Commercial CC, and one property located at 2530 West Tuolumne Road, APN 088010053, from Park P to Community Commercial and Medium Density Residential CC and RM, as introduced at the June 13th, 2017 City Council meeting. Amending the zoning map of the City of Turlock, California Municipal Code, pre-zone 2016-01, Northwest Triangle Specific Plan Update, pre-zoning a property located at 3525 West Monte Vista Avenue, APN 087-003-018, to Commercial Thoroughfare, CT, as introduced at the June 13th, 2017 City Council meeting. Councilmember Esquer,
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dehart.
Yes. And the official record should show that due to previously stated conflict, Councilmember Jacob has recused himself and is now free to re-enter chambers. Public hearings before us this evening. Item number 7, request to determine the adoption of a revised transit fare structure, that it is exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act, and to rescind the resolution number 2016-126, passenger fare rates for the Turlock Transit System effective August 1st, 2016, and adopt a new resolution establishing a revised passenger fare structure effective July 1st, 2017. Good morning, good evening, hello.
Good evening, Vice Mayor, council members. Before you this evening is a resolution that would rescind the existing transit fare resolution and replace it with a fare structure that offers some additional discounted fare options. So I wanted to go over and summarize what those are. The first change relates to active duty or honorably discharged veterans of the United States military, which would now qualify for discount fares for fixed route services. These individuals would present a qualifying ID when boarding the bus and then be charged the discount rate of 75 cents per trip, or $175 for an all-day pass, or $25 for a 31-day pass, which is the same 50% discount rate that is enjoyed by passengers that are over 65 years old, as well as persons with disabilities. The purpose behind this change is twofold. First and foremost, as a city, we want to recognize and honor the sacrifice made by those who serve their country. Secondly, we want to attract new passengers, particularly those veterans who are perhaps struggling with mobility issues from an injury or facing economic challenges reintegrating into society, civilian society. An affordable public transportation option could actually be the difference in making a needed doctor's appointment or possibly accessing employment resources. The second change relates to a grouped travel on dial-a-ride, which is fairly unique for the city of Turlock. It reduces fares for passengers who travel together under the same reservation. So a typical dial-a-ride trip is $2.50 each way, or a $5 round trip. But if two passengers use dial-a-ride for the same trip under the same reservation, each passenger would only pay $1.50, a $1 reduction. If 3 or more passengers use dial-a-ride for the same trip, again, under the same reservation, each passenger would pay only $1. So this is an innovative way to drive down the cost to the passenger, while at the same time ensuring the city receives the necessary revenue to operate the service and cover the costs of providing that service. The purpose of this change is to make dial-a-ride a more affordable and viable option, particularly for seniors on a fixed income, and it allows them to access locations that are not currently served by fixed route services. And third, the city staff is seeking delegated authority for the temporary reduction or elimination of fares for promotional purposes, such as during Go Green Week, as well as unexpected emergency situations, such as the recent flooding in Stanislaus County that resulted in the establishment of a Red Cross site at the Turf Club property. In years past, these fare reductions were made under the operational authority of the transit manager, but staff's been unable to identify that specific delegated authority, which is why we're coming to you tonight seeking that. In the absence of delegated authority, staff would seek specific approval regarding any temporary deviation from the adopted fare structure for anything in the future. And lastly, I just want to reiterate, there are no changes to base fares proposed at this time. These are new discount fares that would be added, and if approved, all of these would take effect July 1st. So I appreciate your time and be happy to answer any questions you may have.
Questions? Yes, ma'am.
So, you've been at some of the meetings I've been at, and, how are we getting the word out to people, if they're gonna all group together to go to something and using Dial-A-Ride? Are we marketing it well?
We are. We've been posting the buses. We're going to be posting social media. We're a little hesitant on how much to do ahead of this meeting because we don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But we did put it on the buses. We had specific targeted outreaches where staff actually went out to East Avenue Manor. We went to Crane Terrace, and we met with seniors that lived at those facilities to make sure they understood what the proposed changes were, that they had an opportunity to actually come. I felt that those visits were very well received, and so we've handed out flyers, and should the council approve this tonight, we will then continue with another flyer on the buses. We'll reach out again to the same individuals, and we will further promote it as an actual change that's been approved to make sure everybody understands. Our idea here is that if it's going to benefit the citizens, we want to make sure they know about it and communicate in any way we can. So combination of social media, in-face meetings, and then posting the buses and the shelters at the transit center is the method we've been using.
I appreciate that. If you could just reach out to Dr. Grimwell, who's kind of been working with the Sikh community for me.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thanks, good follow-up on that. Other questions, comments? I have a couple of my own. Can you perhaps address for me the fare box ratio impact?
We're anticipating, we're hopeful that this is going to be a win-win for us, because while on the surface a reduction may look like we're going to be losing money, we're actually hoping to gain riders out of this. So, for example, with the military discount, we're hoping to attract new riders that have not considered public transit as an option before. With fixed route in particular, we're already providing the service, we're providing the bus, and we're paying for it to go down the road anyway. So any new passengers we can get, it does not incur additional operating expense for us, just provides the opportunity to increase revenue. So we're hoping that's actually going to help our fare box recovery. When it comes to Dial-A-Ride, we're not anticipating a hit to that either, because right now there's not a lot of group travel going on. People tend to travel by themselves, and that's a $250 trip. Well, if they travel under this program, that's actually going to be $3. We actually see a little bit of an increase in revenue to the city for those two people to travel, but yet it's a net reduction per person. So again, it's a win-win, and we hope to actually see a bit of an increase. So with both of these options, as it relates to the discount fares, do not anticipate a negative impact, actually a little bit of a growth to help our fare box recovery. As far as the third item for the temporary reduction, again, those would be used primarily for promotional purposes, again, to grow the service. We try to be strategic in the manner that those are applied and do it in a way that attracts new riders and helps grow the service rather than, we don't want to be arbitrary about it. It's strategic, so.
Okay. And then one last question on the military discount.
Yes.
With the exception of my DD-214 and short hair, the only other proof that I have is my tattoo. How do we, and I can't show that. So how do we, what kind of identification are you talking about?
We wanted to recognize that depending on whether you're active duty or retired, and you're going to have different IDs available to you. So we offered a couple different options. So there's 3 different ways in which a person could provide qualifying ID that we have listed. One is a government-issued photo ID that's bearing the individual's military status, such as an active duty or retired military identification, or a California driver's license with the veteran designation. That's something that they do now. So if you can provide proof of service, you go to the Stanislaus County Veterans Department, they will give you a form, and then you can send that into DMV, and they will actually add that designation to your driver's license.
Is that at a no charge or no fee basis?
I don't know. I don't know about that one. I can't remember. It's been a couple years since I did that. A DD-214 is going to be another option if other options are not available. And then lastly is a membership card from a military service organization, such as the American Legion or Veterans of Foreign War would also be an acceptable proof of service.
Okay, there may be a hole or two there. and I'll think of it. So perhaps we'll dialogue later on.
Sure.
Is there any public comment on this? Yes, ma'am. Yes, please. That way I can hear you. And our viewers can as well.
Good evening, Vice Mayor DeHart and City Council members. My name is Diana Lincason, and I am the Service Coordinator at East Avenue Manor Apartments. And we have been blessed with the transit team coming frequently to meet with our residents. We have 89 apartments for seniors 55 plus and disabled. So anytime there's a change, the transit team will come out and communicate directly to our residents, which results in heightened awareness, but heightening their comfort level. Sometimes information in print form is a little overwhelming. So I've been working closely with Scott and Wayne, encouraging them to make sure the printed materials are in large, bold font. Also for our blind residents, they make an extra effort to come out and make sure it's compatible with the Braille. They're outstanding, and I hope you endorse and vote yes for these discounted fares. I hope it's just the beginning. With what's on the horizon for us is we have the proposed federal budget, which will cut out SSDI, and the healthcare bill will cut out Medi-Cal. So already my folks are living in poverty, and probably about 75% of their income goes to housing costs. Any discount provided is surely appreciated. I will still be on that bandwagon trying to get Sunday transit services so my residents can attend church and visit their loved ones at the local medical facilities. But I applaud the transit department for all they've done for us. We have a bus stop in front of our property. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other comments? Bringing it back to council.
Introduce resolution.
Second.
Okay, it's been first resolution, and we do have to handle these separately. First resolution, moved by Councilmember Bublak, seconded by Councilmember Esker. Clerk, please present.
Determining the adoption of a revised transit fare structure is exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, in accordance with Section 15273, Rates, Tolls, Fares, and Charges of the CEQA Guidelines. Councilmember Esker,
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeHart.
Yes. And the second resolution, entertain a motion.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Councilmember Jacob, seconded by Councilmember Bublak. Clerk, please read the rolls.
Rescinding Resolution Number 2016-126, passenger fare rates for the Turlock Transit System, effective August 1, 2016, and adopting a new resolution establishing a revised passenger fare structure, effective July 1, 2017, maintaining status quo base fares, introducing reduced fares for passengers traveling together on the dial-a-ride service, delegating authority to the city manager or his/her designee to temporarily reduce or eliminate fares for promotional or emergency purposes, and authorizing active duty or honorably discharged members of the United States military to qualify for discount fares for fixed route services. Councilmember Esker,
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Vice Mayor DeHart.
Yes. Thank you very much, Council. Thank you so very much as well. Absolutely. We do have three items before us this evening, scheduled matters. Item A, request to determine the closure of South Broadway between A Street and Market Street for the Dinner at Dusk event, a farm-to-table experience, to declare that it's exempt from the provisions of CEQA, and to approve a special event permit application for Dinner at Dusk, that farm-to-table experience. Welcome.
Good evening, Vice Mayor and Council. Thank you for having me. On April 4th, the Parks, Recreation, and Public Facilities Department received a special event application from Women in Ag for Mentoring and Empowerment, WAMI, to host the second annual Dinner at Dusk, a farm-to-table experience. This application was accompanied by a street closure request for South Broadway between A Street and Market Street. This item has actually been before you before. However, after submitting the application and the public notification being sent out, the applicant requested a date changed. At that time, it was removed from the council agenda. Originally, the date requested was June 22nd. The new proposed event date and street closure proposal is Thursday, September 28th from 2 p.m. to 10:30 p.m. The City of Turlock Special Event Committee has reviewed this application, and property owners directly affected by the closure have been notified of the street closure request and this evening's public hearing. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Council, any questions or comments at this point? Public comment, questions? Seeing none, I'll bring it back to council. What is your desire?
Advance the first resolution.
Okay, second?
Second.
Moved by Councilmember Jacob, seconded by Councilmember Esker. On the first resolution. City Clerk, please call the roll.
Determining the closure of South Broadway between A Street and Market Street for the Dinner at Dusk, a farm-to-table experience hosted by Women in Ag for Mentoring and Empowerment, WAMI, is exempt from the provisions of the California Environmental Quality Act, CEQA, in accordance with Section 15304, minor alterations to land of the CEQA guidelines. Councilmember Esker,
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dehart.
Yes. Before us now the second resolution.
Introduce the second resolution. Second.
Introduced or moved by Councilmember Jacob, seconded by Councilmember Bublak. Clerk, please present and call the roll.
Approving a special event permit application for Dinner at Dusk, a farm-to-table experience hosted by Women in Ag for Mentoring and Empowerment, WAMI, authorizing the associated closure of South Broadway between A Street and Market Street for pedestrian safety on Thursday, September 28, 2017, from 2 p.m. to 10:30 p.m., and authorizing the city manager to apply appropriate conditions and restrictions on the street closure. Councilmember Esker,
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak,
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dehart.
Yes. Thank you very much, Council.
Thank you very
so
much.
much. You bet. You bet. Scheduled matter B, request to designate the California Collegiate Athletic Association Men's and Women's Track and Field Championships as city co-sponsored event for the 2018 year designating appropriate funds.
Thank you, Vice Mayor and Council.
Absolutely.
The university has an exciting opportunity to host the 2018 CCAA Men's and Women's Track and Field Championships. In speaking with the Director of Athletics, Mike Matozo, he has indicated that this particular event has the opportunity to draw approximately 700 athletes and their families to Turlock. It's a fabulous opportunity to host these people. As you know, when they come to town, they'll stay in our hotels, they'll visit our restaurants, and they'll shop locally. So we appreciate the opportunity when these types of events come to town. Part of the presentation tonight, though, is to ask council to consider a co-sponsorship of the event, similar to other events that you have co-sponsored in the past, such as the 4th of July, as well as I'm sorry, it's escaping me right now, the other university event. The softball tournament, thank you. And so we're here once again tonight to ask council to consider a co-sponsorship. Part of that would be a request to appropriate $5,000 from the TOT reserve, specifically to help offset the costs associated with this particular event. Here to speak more about the event, should you have any questions, is Mike Matozo with the university. However, I'm also happy to answer any questions that you may have. Before I turn it over to Mike, I'll let you know that the event is scheduled for May 3rd through 5th of 2018.
Thank you very much. I almost didn't recognize you, Mike. I know. Welcome.
Got my Oakdale look going on to
Good to see
my
you.
country look. Yeah, this came up at our June meetings, and it's one of those situations. You see it, the event rotates from north to south each year, and it was actually supposed to go back down south. UCSD had a scheduling conflict with their facilities. So, as in most cases, when these things come up, all eyes turn to me to see if we will host. And it is a great event. It's the largest championship event in the conference. We just were not planning for this financially. And this is about a $22,000 to $25,000 tournament to run between timing and officials, and it's food for hospitality. It's a big event. So, but local high school kids are going to come to the event, and other people that just like track and field that are going to be local that are going to come come for the day.
Forgive me, I had to ask the question. Might there be questions from council? Comments? Certainly.
Is there a fee for the entry fees, participation fees, anything like that?
It's being discussed right now at the conference, actually, the offset costs. A lot of reasons why people don't want to host this because of the cost. So you're already limited just based off of facilities, but it's tough for, again, schools at Division II to absorb $22,000 to $25,000 in their costs. So right now, there is some discussion, but it has not been finalized to assist with some gate return as well as an entry fee as well. So nothing's been finalized from that standpoint.
Okay. Other questions? Questions from the public on this item? Okay, bringing it back to council.
Comment? So obviously, there is no better sport than track and field, and obviously,
I knew you might
CSU
say that. I had a
Stanislaus
feeling
was, had the
you might
best
speak up on
athletes.
this matter.
So having said that, obviously hearing nobody refute that, well, I would like to introduce the resolution.
Are you sure there's not questions? Second. No. Okay, it's been moved by Councilmember Bublak, seconded by Councilmember Jacob. Clerk, could you please present and call the roll?
Designating the California Collegiate Athletic Association Men's and Women's Track and Field Championships a city co-sponsored event for the 2018 year, appropriating $5,000 to account number 120-10120-47317, city-sponsored special events from Fund 120 Tourism Reserve Balance to offset costs at California State University Stanislaus, CSUS, for the California Collegiate Athletic Association, CCAA, Men's and Women's Track and Field Championships, and authorizing the city manager to allocate co-sponsorship funds in the amount of $5,000. Councilmember Esquer?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dehart?
Absolutely. Thank you, council. Thank you, Mike,
Great,
for
thank
being
you very
here.
much. I also wanted to add to just, with other events, we are hosting the cross-country championships next fall, and then 2018, we're also hosting volleyball championships. And this summer, we're doing a $1 million renovation inside the arena with a new floor and new seating. So now with the air conditioning in that event, I think that is, as we talk about partnerships, it's going to allow a lot more opportunities for the use for the city within that arena. So thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thanks again. Thanks again. Okay, before us now, request to accept the City of Turlock Economic Development Strategic Plan and provide direction to staff about implementation priorities.
Yes, good evening, Vice Mayor and members of council. This item before you, as you might remember, came before you in September 2016 to authorize the issuance of those three reports being completed. And it was basically to update the 2014, review and update the 2014 Economic Development Strategic Plan. And so this is a culmination of a lot of different efforts, and you have the completed report here before you. I wanted to point out just a couple of things and then turn it over to Doug Svensson, the consultant.
What we have found out in reviewing a lot of the data is to verify and validate a lot of the things that we knew or thought we knew anecdotally. And so it is a great tool moving forward for us to be able to quantify and qualify in terms of attraction of new different kinds of businesses, especially in the retail sector. So there's a lot of data in here, and I don't know if you have any general questions, but if not, I'm willing to turn that presentation over to Doug Sensen from Applied Development Economics.
Council, please, welcome.
Vice Mayor DeHart, members of council, I'm Doug Svensson with Applied Development Economics. Pardon me. It's a great pleasure to be here this evening, the culmination of the process that we've been through for approximately the last 6 months with the community. As Maren mentioned, a lot of our focus was on developing new retail and industrial market information for Turlock. At the same time, we went through a process to solicit business and community input and engagement throughout the process. So we conducted focus groups with industrial businesses and with downtown merchants, as well as the Chamber of Commerce, and also with the workforce agencies, as I'll talk about in a moment. That's an extremely important issue to move forward with economic development, and so we wanted to be sure and coordinate with those folks. And then, in addition, on May 24th, we had a general community meeting. So altogether, about 30 businesses and members of the public provided input to us throughout the process. One of the key findings was to document the extensive retail market that Turlock serves, and this map kind of shows the purple area is the primary market area where a lot of the folks that live in these communities, and it extends all the way from I-5 out to Waterford, really use Turlock as one of their main shopping destinations. And within this purple area, there's $1.2 billion of household and business spending potential as we've measured it. So that's a really substantial trade area to work from. But we know that really the extent of Turlock's market area extends beyond that to Modesto and Merced for certain kinds of purchases, being strategically located along State Route 99, connecting those major cities. There's another $1.5 billion in household and business spending in that orange area, and Turlock gets a share of that, which we can see reflected in the sales tax data or receipts that the city gets. So when we analyze how the different businesses do and where some opportunities might be for expansion, Turlock does particularly well in general merchandise, which are some of the larger stores like Costco and those sort of general stores, but also in a number of specific categories like sporting goods and other specialty retail. A lot of that spending or those retail centers are the major ones along the freeway. But there is also expansion, and this is an area that we wanted to identify and help the city build on. And these are all regional spending opportunities. So I think the local population in Turlock is well served, but when we're looking at trying to boost business opportunities in that broader market area, there is opportunity for further expansion in auto sales, and also certain types of grocery stores and restaurants. And again, this is catering to a regional market, not just local neighborhoods. One of the interesting things that we were able to identify in the analysis is that while incomes here and in the Central Valley are by and large lower than retailers see in the Bay Area, when we factor in the lower cost for housing in this area, in many cases the disposable income, which is the income that's really available to spend on retail goods and services, is very comparable. And this chart shows an example of that between Turlock and Hayward, but I think if we looked at other communities, we'd see similar information. So this is the kind of message that's important to get out to retail businesses, so that there are opportunities here for success and further expansion. in the retail market. So in particular, we would recommend trying to focus on specialized, maybe more upscale groceries and restaurants to create an additional segment of opportunity for people to get a different blend of products and services for those things. And along with that, continuing to promote entertainment in the downtown. So one of the things that we heard from a number of people is that on certain nights, Turlock is the place to be, and that's when people do come from Merced, Modesto, elsewhere. And so having more restaurants and more entertainment opportunities will allow the city to build on that. There are also opportunities. It's a very ethnically diverse community, which is documented in the report. So there are a lot of food options and grocery options within the neighborhoods that would serve some of those ethnic communities as well. And so that's an area that we feel further expansion could be beneficial. The auto center clearly is a regional issue and something that the city would need to work closely with the auto dealers to identify the specific market opportunities, because the automobile companies themselves regulate where dealerships go. So it's important to look at the broad regional landscape in terms of what dealerships might be available in this area. But strictly from a supply and demand standpoint, we can see that there is further expansion potential. These next set of recommendations are focused specifically on downtown. We had several meetings with downtown merchants, either individually or in groups. And so I think downtown is working very well in a broad sense, and it's certainly very attractive, and I think compares very well to a number of the other communities in the region. But there is potential for growth, and as that growth occurs, in a downtown area, it's very important to take care in terms of how that occurs. So, for example, a lot of downtown areas are encouraging mixed-use development, and certainly there are opportunities for that. Here in Turlock, the general consensus among merchants was that the mixture would work better with more office space rather than trying to put a lot of high-density residential in the downtown. And there needs to be more office space. Office is an area in Turlock that we feel really should be developed more, not only from the real estate aspect, but from the standpoint that it creates more professional level jobs and higher income and career opportunities. Along with that, consider the potential of expanding the business improvement district. It's currently along kind of a narrow corridor in Main Street, and there are other broader blocks in downtown that could benefit not only from some of the physical improvements, but some of the promotional events and activities that could be designed to go in some of those areas, and it would create a broader funding base, which is another aspect of that expansion. With a lot of the older buildings, there's a need to reuse the upstairs, and so being flexible in terms of how that's constructed and designed while still meeting code is important to have an affordable option for businesses that can use the second floor. And again, this would be largely office-based kinds of businesses. And then one of the things we heard a lot about, two issues are parking and the continued issue of homelessness downtown. And I know we've talked with Marin a lot about all the activities that the city is engaged in to address those issues. So just continued implementation of some of those programs will help to address those concerns. The other major area that we focused on is job creation. And this graph shows the proportion of workers who both live and work in the community, and going all the way back to the year 2000, the green line through the middle of the graph is Turlock. And back in 2000, roughly half of the people who worked here also lived here. But that proportion has been declining as people find job opportunities and are drawn away to the Bay Area and to other job centers. And that's also been true in Stanislaus County generally, that we've seen that proportion decline. Interestingly, the blue line on the bottom there is the state average, and that average is going up. And so generally there is a trend across the state for communities to provide more job opportunities and find ways to employ local workers more. And although Turlock is still above the state average, the trend is in the opposite direction. So there is a need to create additional jobs, particularly for younger workers as they enter the workforce so that they can stay in the community. A lot of them are educated at CSU Stanislaus, need career level, long-term job opportunities that pay well when they come out. And so continued efforts to create those kind of diverse jobs is important. On the industrial side, we do see a continued strong growth opportunity in food processing, which is the major economic base of the area. But at the same time, what we look for is some of the niches that Turlock can fill to really support that basic economic base. And so this slide just highlights a few of the business opportunities where we know that businesses that are here in Turlock or in Stanislaus County are outsourcing either inputs, production inputs, or services to businesses outside the area because they're not finding the vendors that they need locally. And so these are some of the opportunities to create new businesses here to serve the local industrial market. And they include a variety of products. Fabricated metal products is something that you currently already have, so there's expansion opportunity there. And then professional, scientific, and technical services, again, is an area, it's an opportunity to create more career type of job opportunities. As we look at trends throughout Stanislaus County and in this area of the San Joaquin Valley, there are a number of other professional kinds of job opportunities that are projected to grow because of population growth that's expected in the area. So including accounting, education, and healthcare in particular. But other kinds of technical services are in great demand. So testing labs, computer systems, other kind of scientific consulting. As I'll show in a moment, a lot of those are tied into agriculture and food processing, but they're also using technologies that serve a wider market and can connect Turlock with Silicon Valley and the tremendous job growth that's occurring there. So we look particularly at opportunities in agricultural science and technology, and there are a lot of examples of food processing and agricultural firms reaching out and creating partnerships with technology companies to infuse food processing and ag with new technology and remote sensing, automation and robotics, and this is throughout manufacturing, pardon me. And a lot of new biotechnology products and various kinds of diagnostic products, particularly for livestock. A number of communities, Fresno and Salinas are two prominent examples, have made specific efforts to connect with this new technology development and business opportunity. I mentioned the Steinbeck Innovation Cluster because I think there's a couple aspects of that program that are important. Salinas actually went out and hired an executive from Silicon Valley to design and run that program, and he's been at it now for 4 or 5 years. And so he's connected to the technology companies in a direct way, but at the same time his client is Salinas, and they're working to make these connections between the companies in the Salinas Valley and the companies in Silicon Valley to begin to develop some of these new technological innovations that are making for tremendous efficiencies in food processing and other kinds of agricultural development. So I think that's an important lesson, that is a way of creating that connection, because I know that's something that Turlock has been looking at for a number of years and really needs a way to jumpstart that activity. The other thing that they're doing, and I'll talk in a moment more about that, is making a real effort to bring this technology into the school system and teach young kids how to code, and working with the community college and the CSU in that area to create accelerated degree programs where kids can go, starting like in the 8th grade, go through programs through high school, and in 3 years have a degree in computer programming that might otherwise take 4 or 5 years. And so developing those kinds of systems really creates a workforce here that you can market to business community. And this is one of the primary things they look for if they're going to locate in a community, is are the workers there that have the talents that we need to run our business. Here locally, UC Merced has an Office of Business Development that is devoted to helping businesses access technologies that are developed in the university setting, and a lot of those are oriented toward agriculture and food processing. As I mentioned, we conducted a focus group with the local school officials, including Modesto Junior College, Stanislaus Alliance WorkNet, which is the countywide workforce development agency. And this was also a major topic when we had the industrial business focus group, is how to connect the job opportunities that they have with workers that have the skills that they can hire. And so the career technical education system is being expanded through additional federal and state expenditures. And so it's a key opportunity. That is how the schools are able to provide the kinds of education and technical skill development for the K-12 program, and it extends through to Modesto Junior College as well, to provide the skills that a lot of the industrial businesses are looking for. And so creating opportunities for internships for workers that or students going through those programs to have employment opportunities to learn on the job is a really important strategy, and something that the city can help facilitate and broker. And so that's a key recommendation in the report. And then also developing new businesses and entrepreneurship. And so working with this Small Business Development Corporation and CSU to counsel would-be business people on how to set up a business and run it, and get some of these local technology ideas into play. We also, and particularly in the community meeting, a number of the folks raised concerns about social conditions in Turlock, the need for diverse housing opportunities, the efforts to get veterans reemployed, the need for transit services, which I know Council was addressing earlier tonight, and again, homelessness. And then from an infrastructure standpoint, just broadband availability. Some of the industrial businesses are not connected the way they would like to be. That appears to be a solvable issue. The newer businesses have the service they need. It's the older ones that need to upgrade. But nevertheless, if we're going to be a technology center, even for ag and food processing, broadband capacity is critical. So we added a goal to the strategy that addresses what we referred to as economic foundations. So these are the support services and systems that are necessary so that all workers have access to employment opportunities up and down the wage scale. And so those are all things that I think are important to really support the city's overall economic development program. And then finally, some key recommendations. There are a lot of recommendations in the report, but some things that I wanted to highlight here in closing. We had a lot of conversations with the business community about what it's like to go through the entitlement process here in Turlock, and we've sat with the building department, and we understand that the city has really done a lot to upgrade and improve its systems. And so we think that the systems are in place, but the word has not necessarily gotten out real well to the business community. And so I think that, I know the next part of the strategy that you'll be hearing from has to do with marketing and branding. And I think one of the elements of that would be to brand the city as a can-do kind of place that knows how to get business done. And I think that capability is certainly here, but needs to be promoted better in the business community. We would like to recommend that the city consider establishing an economic work group that would include both city staff and business community to really take some of these key initiatives and work with them. And that's been shown to be a very effective way of collaborating with the business community and move the agenda forward. And so we think that would be a good overall approach to implementation of the strategy. And again, you'll be getting other recommendations later on marketing and tourism development from the other consultants. And when all that picture is together, then I think the city will want to consider over the longer term increasing the level of financial and staff commitment to economic development in order to keep all the balls in the air, because there's a lot of different areas for the city to work in to promote economic development, and I think over the long term will pay benefits in terms of return on the investment. So that's a high-level overview of the strategy, and I certainly look forward to your questions or comments this evening.
Councilman Jacob.
Regarding the, because I read several times in the strategic plan that there's a 30-year sort of reputation that our building department has in regards to the difficulty of getting through the entitlement process. And you say that there are processes in place now that have addressed that. Is that, do you make that statement as a result of feedback that you receive from the community, or is that staff's personal assessment of how they're doing opposed to how things were done in the past?
It's both. We sat down with staff to get a very clear understanding of how the system works, and we did try to document that in the report so that the public can see. But we did talk with a number of business people, some of them in the real estate business, who have had projects go through, and so they had some specific issues, but also the perspective that by and large, things are moving forward. And there's a lot of complimentary sense about the West Industrial specific area and the fact that that is an area where things really move especially quickly in terms of entitlements and so forth. So it was a bit of a mixed bag from the private sector side, and that's why we felt it was important to frame this issue the way we did in terms of sort of promoting what the city's capabilities really are.
And I guess a follow-up to that would be any recent development, because I know that it specifically said in there these are some things that happened, more than 4 or 5 years ago, I think is what it says in there. Any recent development or people that have recently developed, any negative feedback that we received from them? Or has it generally all been positive?
It was generally the older kind of stuff.
Other comments, questions? Questions from the public? Okay, I'll bring it back to council for additional comments, movement.
I just want to thank you for doing that. I think that it gives us a lot of thoughts and ideas towards how we can even make it better. Obviously, Turlock has a tremendous economic play in Stanislaus County, and so I personally will take a lot of this to heart and see what we can do for it. Thank you.
I as well would just like to say thank you very much. You've given us a lot to chew on here. I think that there are specific recommendations which are problematic for any community. When we start talking about specifically homelessness as an example, it's far more than just one community can deal with on its own. I think that the wonderful strides have been made. Obviously, considerable more to be done. We're looking to our partners at both county and state to see if there might be a solution there, and we are uncovering some as time progresses. However, that's but one of the recommendations that I would have any comment other than thank you. I think that we have wonderful, wonderful opportunities here, and I think this information can be taken. Just point of clarification for my own part, we have recommended action of a motion accepting the City of Turlock Economic Development Strategic Plan, but then provide direction to staff about implementation priorities. So are we going to be investing that time this evening, or how do we take making those recommendations at this point?
I'll field that. We had talked the last meeting about economic development and having that group, and that was one of his number 2 priorities, is that we should have a group.
Second.
We have both a motion by Councilmember Bublak, second by Councilmember Esker to accept. All those, oh no, excuse me, can you read back? And, well, there's not a whole lot to read back, is there? Although you should. And call the roll for us, please.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I just have one point of clarification. So in my title, it will be accepting the City of Turlock Economic Development Strategic Plan, and how about we change that to in providing future direction to staff about implementation priorities? So adding the word future.
Attorney, can you help us out on that?
Or do you want to add the item number 2 of accepting the City of Turlock Economic Development Strategic Plan and establishing the economic work group to address the economic development efforts and strategies? That's just an option.
There we go. I believe that's supposed to be on the next agenda, so if that fulfills it, or if we just say we accept this at this point in next meeting. Okay, my motion was to accept it.
Sounds like a plan. It's been moved once again by Councilmember Bublak, seconded by Councilmember Jacob. City Clerk, please read that back just for final verification, and then call the roll, please.
Accepting the City of Turlock Economic Development Strategic Plan. Councilmember Esker?
Yes.
Councilmember Bublak?
Yes.
Councilmember Jacob?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Dehart?
Yes. Thank you very much. The motion carries. Thank you very much, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you, Marion. Okay, then. Matters too late for the agenda. Non-agenda items, anything at this point? Seeing none, hearing none. Council items for future consideration. Before us, council comments. Excuse me, City Manager, did you have a button you needed to push?
I just wanted to reaffirm, pursuant to your earlier direction this evening, staff will bring back an information item for your next council meeting clarifying the funding source for the slurry seal project. But I believe, without going into detail, you'll find that the action taken tonight is accurate with prior direction of council. But we'll provide that direction and provide options if you choose to want to pursue additional direction on future slurry projects.
Okay, thank you very much, Manager, for that. Council comments.
I just had a comment. Last Thursday, I was in Modesto at the ACE meeting, welcome ACE to Modesto. And they mentioned the stations that are coming in. Is there somebody in Turlock working with ACE? Because I haven't heard of anybody in Turlock working on the project. Mike? So if I have questions, stuff, I can talk to you? Okay, that's what I want to. Thank you.
That was a question, not a comment. Are you good? Okay, good. Any other comments? Okay, Attorney, I understand we have a closed session this evening. Can you pass that to us, please?
I can, Vice Mayor.